This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine.
Who am I that you are mindful of me, that you hear me when I call? Is it true that you are thinking of me, how you love me? It's amazing. Who am I that you are mindful of me, that you
You are holy, oh so holy. You are holy, oh so holy. What a privilege and honor to worship at your throne, to be called into your presence as your own. You are worthy, oh so worthy. You are worthy, oh so worthy. What a privilege and honor to worship at your throne, to be called into your presence as your own. You are faithful, oh so faithful. You are faithful, oh so faithful. What a privilege and honor to worship at your throne, to be called into your presence as your own. Your own. I can search the heavens high, I can search the earth below, but there's no one. There is no one, no one. I can search the heavens high, I can search the earth below, but there's no one. There is no one, no one, no one so holy, no one so holy, no one so worthy, no one so worthy, no one so faithful, no one so faithful. There is no one, no one, no one so holy, no one so holy, no one so worthy, no one so worthy, no one so faithful, no one so faithful. There is no one, no is no one, no
Casting all your care upon him, for he cares for you. Cast your burden on the Lord, and he shall sustain you. One day, a young man was looking through the classifieds in search of a used car when he came upon an ad for a brand new Jaguar being sold for only $50. Surely he thought this was a typing mistake, but calling the number listed, he was assured that $50 was correct. The next day he went by to see the car and to his amazement found the automobile to be in superb condition. He asked a woman why she was selling this expensive car for only $50, and she said, A year ago, my husband began to go through a midlife crisis. That's when he bought this car. About a month ago, he ran off with his 23-year-old secretary. A week ago, he called to say he was running short on cash and asked me to sell his Jag and send him the money. So, that's exactly what I am doing. What is a crisis? I believe that every one of us passed through some crisis as a person or as a society. My country and all people passed through very hard times from the beginning of 90s till 2000s. There were wars, inflation, and a deficit of energy like electricity, gas, and many more for 10 years. Most of the people purchased gas in bottles, literally, from a second dealer, and that gas was a significant percent of water. At that time, I was in the army, after that at college. My monthly tuition fee was about 10 times more higher than my father's salary because of inflation. Can you believe in that? Half of my studies I spent with the light of candle because there was a restriction of electricity. So when you want to complain, never forget gas is expensive, but you still can buy gas at gas stations. We still have enough food in the stores and electricity and many other things. We can say that there is a social crisis, an individual crisis, or personal crisis. Social crises are wars, economical, political, natural disasters, aridity, floods, earthquakes, hurricanes, and many others. Personal crises are identity crisis, financial crisis, personal fiasco, death, marriage crisis, relationship with friends, kids, and many others. Unfortunately, many people don't have the strength or motivation to fight the crisis. They start using drugs, alcohol, or make a suicide after periods of depression. But the crisis doesn't always have negative consequences. Through crisis, we can become stronger, resilient, and faithful. What is the key point in the personal crisis? I believe that is an attitude. Our attitude is crucial in the crisis. In which direction the crisis will move on depends on our attitude. What do I mean by this? We can choose to be desperate, discouraged, to be in critical mood, etc., but also we can choose to be faithful, positive, and try to find a solution. Viktor Frankl, famous psychologist, said, "We who were at concentration camps can remember the people who make the round camp barracks, comforted others, and shared the last piece of bread. Maybe there were just a few of them, but they are proof that everything can be taken from a man but the last of the human freedoms." To choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's own way, Frankl said in his Man's Search for Meaning. We have the freedom and responsibility to choose our attitude in every life situation, especially in crisis. We have a freedom to choose our own way, and that's our free will, the most powerful thing in the universe after God. God gave us free will, and He wants from us to choose a way in life, in eternal life. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is the way of death. Proverbs 16:25. God, as a good Father, wishes to lead us a right way of wisdom, to not fall in the crisis. I have taught you in the way of wisdom. I have led you in the right paths. Proverbs 4:11. God is teaching us and warning us. He says, "Do not enter the path of wicked, and do not walk in the way of evil. Avoid it. Do not travel on it. Turn away from it and pass on. For they do not sleep unless they have done evil, and their sleep is taken away unless they make someone fall. For they eat the bread of wickedness and drink the wine of violence." Proverbs 4:14-17. And then he continues, "But the path of the just is like the shining sun, that shines ever brighter unto the perfect day. The way of the wicked is like darkness. They do not know what makes them stumble. Ponder the path of your feet, and let all your ways be established. Do not turn to the right or the left. Remove your foot from evil." This is an idea about two paths: path of the wicked and evil, and path of justice and righteousness. What is the path of the wicked? Unsafe, dangerous, like a darkness that makes them stumble. When I was back in Europe, I liked camping, mountain climbing, etc. And one day I was at the one mountain in western Serbia, a beautiful high mountain and a beautiful sunset, but I was waiting to get down longer than I should, and suddenly dark came. Night without moonlight. Path got down and was very dangerous. That time I learned valuable lesson: never go down from the mountain during darkness. We have to watch out on our steps every day. We have to watch our words, thoughts, attitudes, values. The greatest success in one's life is to recognize God's will and fulfill it. If we know our purpose of our life, if we know what our future is and where we go and whose children we are, we will be able to face the crisis. All crises, social, personal, or crises of the end of time. Yes, all past or present crises are just an introduction to the final crisis, I believe, of the end of time. How will you face that crisis? Will you be prepared for that final crisis? It depends on your today's attitude and experience with God, what path you will choose, which way you will walk. My choice is to lean on God's promises. If you have experiences with your God today, you will be able to pass through a crisis in the future. Did you know that the Bible is the book of promises? In the Bible exist 8,810 promises. Almost 7,500 promises are directly addressed from God to man, which means about 85% of all the Bible is a promise. Our God is faithful and truthful to fulfill His promises only if we ask Him for that. Have you ever heard a Bible story about Cinderella? Yes, that's a story about Esther. I'm sure you know that. She passed through a personal crisis and through the crisis of her nation. God had a plan for her and for her people. God has a plan for you, for me, for every one of us. But the only question is our choice, our attitude in the crisis. God is calling you to choose the right thing. Truly goodness. He offered a solution and exit from the crisis. The solution is on the other shore. Just walk across the bridge which He builds for you. That bridge is the cross. You can pass over gaps of fear, frailty, and crisis. We can pass over that bridge by accepting a gift in Jesus Christ, His salvation through His death. I want to share with you a quote from the first and only Yugoslavian Nobel Prize winner, Ivo Andrić. He received the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1961. In his short story Bridges, he said, "Of all things that man raises and builds in the urgency of the life, nothing is better and more important in my eyes than the building of bridges. They are more important than houses, more universal and holier than temples. They belong to everyone. Treat everyone equally. They are useful and they are always built with much thought at the place where the greatest of man's needs intersect. They last longer than other buildings and don't serve for any evil or secret purpose. In the end, all that makes up our lives, thoughts, efforts, views, smiles, words, sights, all of this yearns for the other shores, to which they are heading towards, as going towards a goal, and where they will obtain their real meaning. They all have something to overcome and bridge: disorder, death, or meaninglessness. Because everything is a crossing, a bridge whose ends are lost into infinity, and to which all earthly bridges are but toys, bleak symbols, but all our hope is on the other side. All our hope is on the other side. What a beautiful statement. Therefore, the hope that Jesus gives us is the only anchor and final stronghold when we find ourselves in a tragic situation, in any kind of crisis, because those conditions go beyond our strength. There is nothing we can do to help ourselves. Someone once said that we can survive a few months without food, a few days without water, a few minutes without air, But without hope, you can't last not even a second. And for that reason, friends, casting all your care upon Him, for He cares for you. Cast your burden on the Lord, and He shall sustain you. May God bless you all when you're facing your crisis, because you are not alone. God is with you, and He wants to help you how to prevail your crisis, how to face with one, and how to win in your crisis, any crisis of your life. May God bless you all, dear friends.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart, not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best song by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my life. Be thou my wisdom, and thou my true word, and I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, and I thy true Son. Thou in me dwelling, and I with thee, Lord. Riches I need not, no man's empty praise. Thou mine inheritance now and always. Thou and thou only are first in my heart. High King of heaven, thy treasure thou art. High King of heaven, my victory won. May I reach heaven's door like heaven's sun. Heart of my own heart would ever be full. Still be my vision, O ruler of heart of my own heart would ever be full. Still be my vision, O ruler of. Still be my vision, O ruler of. Still be my vision, O